Hey, coffee experts. Those of you running independent coffee shops, you're always looking for ways that you can drop your costs. And we here at the Coffee Experts Club really understand that. And so we've started something called Indie Coffee Coalition. And what it's designed to do is to drop your costs on two of the things that you're probably experiencing the highest sales volume in your store. And that is energy drink and frat mix. Those two line items, we've created our own products and are offering you those products at a reduced cost so that you can cut out the Red Bull of America. You can cut out the main lines of energy drinks that you're doing and serve your own energy drink at a reduced cost on a line item that you're probably already making a lot of sales on anyway. The best way that you can grow sales is by dropping your costs and maintaining a current volume. So check us out at indiecoffee.co and we'll love to tell you more there.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Woo! Hey, Coffee Experts Club. What's going on, Big Cloud Buck? How are you doing today?
Just another wonderful day in the life. Beautiful day in October right now.
Yep. And at the beginning of quarter four. How you feeling about quarter four?
Good. I feel like for myself personally, quarter three was just like I feel like a ping pong ball bouncing all over the place. You know, everybody's wanting this, everybody's wanting that. Family, work, it was just, it's summer. It's just a jumble.
Yeah.
Q4 is like when everybody settles in to their fall routine again. It's like everybody's back on track. I like that feeling.
Quarter four, man, it's the one. So Coffee Experts today, we're going to lean in and actually talk to you about some of the quarter four magic and things that we think you should be predictively doing for the new year. Things that are going to set up your 2026 right. And so for those of you who are tuning in today, Coffee Experts Club, this is the spot you come. If you're thinking about building a business, if you think about opening up a coffee drive-through, that's our jam. That's something we've been doing for decades now. That's something that we've done dozens of times for different coffee vendors out there. And something that I feel like we do really, really well. So lean in here, especially when we talk about this topic today, because I think that this is something that a lot of time is overlooked and not highly enough valued. And that is the whole idea of annual planning. So Ben Clatterbug, because we're about ready to embark on an adventure on Thursday to go up to Montana and meet each other up there for our annual planning for the Collab team. But also Drew's flying in from Belize. We're going to be doing an annual planning for Coffee de los Mayas. And then I'm doing an annual planning for Indie Coffee Coalition, the three businesses that I own. And I feel like quarter four is the best time to do it because I think a lot of people wait until the beginning of the year, but then you're already into the beginning of the year. And then you're dealing with all the new year stress and all the new year hustle. And instead, why don't we take quarter four? We usually do it right around now, September, October. And let's really plan for how we want the future to look.
Yeah, especially since like Q4, January 1st, like everybody's coming out of the holidays.
Right.
Everybody's like, fat and happy from Christmas and
Right.
Thanksgiving, New Year's. And so like you're not really getting the full focus of people the first of the year. A lot of people are still on vacation we're just talking brass tacks. You got New Year's Eve. If you got Monday on January 1st, good luck getting a planning session out of those folks. Like
Right. So
so
true. And I think people are usually traveled out too, right? Like if you
yep.
wait until then, like they've traveled for Thanksgiving, they've traveled for Christmas, they just want to hunker down. So I
Mhm.
really, we're going to talk about today. There are a lot of different ways you can do annual planning. There's a lot of different sets of people you can bring to annual planning. I think some people say, well, I just don't have enough people to do an annual planning. I would say if you have one person, it's worth doing an annual planning. But I will say dancing around the holidays becomes very, very tricky.
Mhm.
October is a great month because it's all we're really dealing with is Halloween. I mean, don't mess up and fall and try and book it over Halloween weekend or something. But I say, like any other time in this month or even early November, is a great time to circle the brains to say, hey, how are we finishing out quarter four? What from quarter four is going to roll into quarter one? And what's the trajectory we want to expect for the new year? And I think that there's never a better time than that, than when you are not feeling under the gun. Once you
Mhm.
get into the year, you start feeling under the gun. And so I think that
Mhm.
it's really important to get out ahead of it and to be thinking about it.
And it also just gives people a little hurrah to try and finish the year out well as good as well. Because if
Yeah.
you get in early Q4, October like this, sure we're doing our planning for next year, but we also take some time to talk about, okay, what's gone well this year? What are we in the middle of this year that we're going to finish out in the next few months? And it is a good little extra oomph that people need to get through the busy holidays, get through like all the stuff that's going on outside. So, like you said, if you can get in early, we can keep them focused, and we can inspire a good finish for the 2025 this year.
Yeah, and I think that's key, right? Because we want to know that we're tying off the year well, so
Yep.
that we're setting ourselves on a solid foundation for the upshoot that we're hoping for in the next year, right? So I think that a lot of times the problem is we try and hustle just to get through the end of the year, and then when we come to the new year, we're like, what do we do now? You know what I mean, like we tie
Mhm.
things off, but if you can think of it as something that's just congruently flowing, no, we're going to tie off this year, and that's going to tee us up for next year as we begin to project. I think in a lot of visionaries' minds, they're quick starts, right? They're people that are willing to get in there and get something done and make quick decisions and hustle something out. So something like planning doesn't naturally come to them anyway, especially planning 3 months in advance of something that they're launching. But I think that it does your team so good if you can just change that mindset about yourself and just begin to treat the new year as something that's happening in quarter 4. This is the on ramp to your successful next year. So let's make it a priority now.
Mhm. And I would say I know early on when we first started annual planning, it seemed very daunting. We're
Yeah.
gonna sit down for like how long and talk about all of next year. Like what are we even supposed to talk about? How we even am I supposed to come up with ideas?
Yeah.
Like don't start like you need to have like a week long session
Yeah.
with your entire team out and out in the mountains somewhere. Like
Right.
start small. Okay, we've never done this before. We're gonna sit down for 2 hours
That's right.
and we're just gonna talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and
Yep.
what are mine as the owners or us as a team's broad goals for
Yep.
next year. Like, don't make it super complicated. At least just start somewhere so that so you can say, "Hey, team, this is where I think we should go. I don't have the answers on how we're gonna get there, but this is what I just want to do." And just starting with that, and each year build on that. Each year
Yep.
go, "Okay, we had this idea last year. Now we can build on that. Now we can build on that." And it will get more refined and more detailed as you just start the practice of doing it to begin with.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, Aaron, seriously, okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks. You've convinced me it's an important thing to do. Like people need to see vision. Something that's not growing is dying, right? Like we need to be thinking about how we're taking ground, and either that's opening new locations or
Mhm.
that's making the business better, infrastructuring up, working on culture. There are a lot of different ways that you can grow, but a business that's not growing is dying. There's no way around that. Your people are going to be excited when you give them something to be excited about. That means you're taking territory in some way in one of those different fashions. So I would say a lot of folks are probably like, okay, so what do we do though? Like, what does the doing look like? And Ben's exactly right. I'd say first identify, well, who's the team I'm going to do it with, right? It's probably not too many cooks ruin the soup, right? So it's probably not something you want everybody there for. It's you want the people there that are going to be making the decisions for the trajectory of the company. I would always advocate for a leadership team. And I think that you should be always raising up a leadership team because you probably don't want to do what you're doing forever, right? You want to be able to go on and do new ventures. For me, I started with the Collab team, but the Collab team led into Coffee de los Mayas for me, where I started my own coffee expression down in Belize, first drive-through coffee in the country of Belize. And because I was starting this coffee company, I thought, you know what, the best way for me to cut my cogs down is by creating my own energy drink, creating my own frat mix. I didn't have enough coffee shops to be able to do that for myself uniquely. So let me pull together all these independents and let's all pool our resources to create our own energy drink, to create our own blending powder for the sake of cutting cogs. And that helped me in my business down in Belize. So I think what you'll find is you're going to create more and more real estate to create more companies, create more business when you actually think with intention on how am I going to raise up other leaders around me to take on things that I'm doing now. So I know, Ben, I was talking to Taryn about this yesterday, actually on Ops Experts Club, the other podcast that we do for operations for online businesses. We talked about annual planning as well. And I was reminded how Taryn was the first person I started doing annual planning with. And it started just on a Zoom. And then I actually flew him here to Jacksonville to my house here, and we used my dad's rental property up the street, and we met upstairs and like planned out what it's going to be. And it was just me and Taryn because at the time it was just Taryn and myself and Brian Fowler and Jesh. There was only 4 people in the company, but now, it's like expanded out to, we have 22 people that work with the Collab team. We have 30 something clients that we're carrying, on any given month. And so it's developed out to where now leadership team for a Collab team is you, and it's Tabby from the finance end of things, and it's Taryn and me, and we're the leadership team. So we get together for annual planning. So I would just say, no matter how big your team is, even if it's just one person that can get in a room with you and talk about stuff, dream about the business, think about
Mhm.
what's coming up next, talk about what growth would look like, it's worth it. And even if it's just virtual for now, so it's like virtually costless, it's just over a
Mhm.
Zoom. I would say in person's always going to be better. But if you can't afford in person, then I would say set up a Zoom with that one other person that you can get together and talk, just like Ben said, out for an hour or 2 or 3. I'd say at least probably 2 or 3 hours is what we'd recommend. But start somewhere, start small and be intentional.
Mhm.
And I remember the first ones we did was over Zoom when I brought you and Savannah in at the beginning with me and Taryn, and we started doing it, and we did it for just a half day. In fact, before I get too deep in the show, let me drop this here. So if you're wondering, Aaron, what's the agenda and how do we use? Do you have any tools? Absolutely, we do. Planning2026.com. So if you go to planning2026.com, I actually give you all of our assets for free. So this is the agenda. This is how we go over it. And I line it all out for you. So if you want those free assets, planning2026.com. And we also offer, if you need our help to do it, we would love to help you with that. But anyway, Ben, your first annual planning, what was some of the thoughts you came into it with? Because you didn't come out of a culture that did a lot of annual planning, right?
Mhm.
That wasn't something that the business you ran as the COO did a ton of annual planning before this.
Mhm. No, that we started annual planning, like, towards the end of my tenure there, probably the last year or 2, maybe it was even just the last year we did that
As
big
West
thing.
X did, right? I think it's when we did it.
Yeah,
As West X did, I came out and we did an annual planning for the
yep.
whole org, right?
Yeah, it was so it was that last one. I just remember, apprehension just because it was something I'd never done before, so you're like, "Oh gosh, maybe I should sit down the night before and come up with a laundry list of ideas I think that should be applicable to the following year," which is good, that's what you want your people to do.
Yeah.
So if it's your first time running an annual planning session and you're bringing a team in and they've never done it before, there's gonna be some apprehension.
Yeah.
There's the should I be coming with ideas that are good ideas and should I be aware of things that are working and not working? All of those, yes, yes, you want your team members to be aware of those, but you know, I would say your first one, it's great to just be open with the team and honest and say, "Hey guys, look, I know I've never asked you to think about an entire year's worth of goals. I know we've never even sat down and done anything like this. You're
Yeah.
probably going, what the heck do we even talk about? That's
Yeah.
fine. We're here to start doing that so it becomes a muscle memory reflex as we move on throughout the years. But then getting past that, it's so refreshing to know from somebody who's on the team, like some sort of direction of where the ship is headed.
Yeah.
Like you can only lead your team blindly into the into the dark for so long before people start going, "Hey, look, man, is this gonna last for another few years? Like, am I good to try and make a career out of this, or should I be looking for something on the side because I have no idea what's going on?" Like, you do want to share that bit of vision and direction with your team. And an annual planning is a really good time to say, hey, look, this is what's important. This is what I want to see happen. And let's just cement that in place for the next year. So at least for the next year, that team goes, okay, I know where we're going. I know what we're
That's
doing. I
right.
know exactly what's going to be happening. I know I have a sense of job security here. I know I have a sense of career stability here. And all of that you can kind of give out as nuggets throughout the year as you're working with your team. But it really, I think, cements it in place when you say, hey, I want to dedicate time to the future of this company and I want to show you what I think that looks like.
Hey, experts, we've got something really awesome that we do here at Coffee Experts Club, and that's called the My First Drive Through Coffee Masterclass. So if you're opening your next coffee shop, I think a lot of times you may think to yourself, I know what goes into opening a coffee shop. I've been doing this for years, but maybe you've been doing it for somebody else. And maybe this is your first option of starting a coffee shop on your own. Or maybe you don't know anything about coffee and you're just like, I'm looking for a good investment opportunity. Starting a coffee shop seems like a good place to put it, and you're going to enter into it. But what you don't know is all the things that you don't know, right? And so what we've done with this masterclass is taken behind the scenes, how you find your first location, what you need to be thinking about in finding a location. We give you a gift in the masterclass where it's a step-by-step process of how you're opening your coffee shop, the different checkpoints you need from coming up with your plans and talking with the city and then negotiating a lease. And then how do you build a team and what are the different pieces you need to be thinking about? It's a great masterclass, door to door, start to finish, completely free on opening up your next coffee drive-through. So check it out. It's at myfirstdrivethrough.coffee. And it's a great masterclass. You won't regret it. We'll see you on the inside there. That's good. So our format, it's exactly what Ben just lined out there. I think that as we come into it, typically day one, Yeah, and I would say just start with, for me, I just do a 1-day annual planning. I'll bring in the team the night before. Like, I'm excited to be up in Montana. I like going somewhere where I really love. My dad has a vacation house up in Montana. It's a beautiful spot. I'll fly the leadership team in. We'll meet up there. I'll take them out to dinner the first night because this isn't only a time for planning, but it's a time for team to come together as a
Mhm.
team, right? A time where you can wine and dine your folks, a time where you can express gratitude to your folks, a time where you can give them a little bit of space to blow off some steam too. So I don't think it's all about just like hard, fast, let's get after planning, but I try
Mhm.
and create some space too. Like, give them time for naps, give them time to go take a walk, give them time to like jump into some work if they're going to need to jump into some work, right? So space it out, pace it out. So anyway, everybody comes in for us on we're going to come in on a Thursday. We do a nice dinner together that night, maybe a movie, some hangout time that night. And then the next morning, we start right around 9. Let people get up and have breakfast, 9:30, and then we'll get into it. And then the way that we'll start annual planning every time, it's just like Ben lined out is, hey, let's talk about the personal best and the business best for 2024. Like, let's talk through what you're really proud of personally, what you're proud of in that you accomplished in the business for 2024. And then from there, we'll ask folks like, and what are your expectations for the day? Like, well, tell me what you would hope to get out of
Mhm.
annual planning so that did we actually meet those things from the expectations of your people? Right. And then you're setting the tone. Give me a climate of how everybody's feeling. I'll check in on like, are people coming in anxious? People coming in, maybe they had a hard week. Are people coming in excited? I'll get the climate check from folks. And then just like Ben lined out, we spend the first part reflecting, like, what are we doing well? What could we
Mhm.
be doing better? What should be cut? And I'll write it out on the board, and from those things, a lot of times those are going to educate the next section that we come to. We'll go through our VTO, which is something EOS advocates for. EOS is Entrepreneur's Operating System from the book Traction by Gino Wickman. A VTO is a vision traction organizer. So we'll talk about from that, like, hey, let's recenter on what are our core values and our ethos, that centers us to our vision. And then what's our 10-year target and our 3-year picture and our 1-year plan? And
Mhm.
we'll go over that together. And then from there, all this is the part where the visionary can come and just give them some new vision for the next year, and beyond. Just 30 to 60 minutes. Sometimes this can be a spot where visionaries kill it. I mean, like they come in and they just preach at their people for hours and they think, okay, annual planning's done. No, they just need a snippet of where do you see the business going? And some visionaries get so anxious about this. They're like, I don't even want to do annual planning because I don't have a good vision. Don't make it too complex. Just come
Mhm.
and speak out the things that you see and then invite your leaders into giving you their vision on where they could see, the company growing. We did this thing, Ben, for Wellspring just yesterday, which is a mastermind that I'm a part of, P. Fargus's mastermind. And it was called Working Genius. It's workinggenius.com, but it's a way that you align your people on what their strengths are. And part of it was there are some people that are more gifted for wonder and invention. And there are others of us that may be more, gifted towards tenacity and coming alongside of people to get vision done. So like maybe you don't have to be the only one that dreams the vision for the business. Maybe
Mhm.
invite that out of your leaders because maybe there's some in there that are more filled with wonder, more filled with invention than you are as a visionary. Be big enough to be able to say, that's okay. I want to hear it from my leaders. But I think when you empower your people by calling them into what have we done well? What could we do better? This is where I see us going. And then let's invite in the issues. Let's invite in the things that we can pull apart and determine, okay, so if that's the long-term vision, how can we break that big vision into quarterly metrics? I mean, how can we break those down and really, let's just get really clear on how we're going to finish out quarter 4 and how we're going to kick off quarter 1.
Mhm. And I think the biggest underlier that the foundation you need to have there is give your team the ability to bring honest feedback.
Yeah.
If that's not a culture that you foster within your organization now, that's something you should be fostering. And that's done by, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, that's actually important to me that you said that. I'm gonna take that to heart and maybe make a change on this thing that you see could be better this way or that. If you're fostering that pre-annual planning, when you get there, you'll have
Yep.
leaders who will say, hey, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. I don't think we should do this. I think we should do this instead. And that alone is going to take that burden of I have to come up with all the ideas as a visionary off of your shoulders because now you have people who most of the time your leaders want to say, hey, I want to see this succeed. Here's how I think it could succeed in a better fashion. Give them that ability to say, to come to annual planning and say that to you and work through those together as a team because it's only going to make your organization better. It's going to take that stress off of your shoulders. And again, I mean, we talk about it time and time again in the coffee industry. It gives them buy-in into your company. You want your employees from the barista on upwards to be bought into the success of your company. The only way you do that is if you foster that culture of your opinion matters, and if you can make something better, I want to hear it.
That's right. No, that's good. So I think maybe just taking some of the pressure off of you as the leader. If you're the only leader in your organization, your organization only grows so big, right?
Mhm,
Like you need other strong leaders. You need their brains, not to just do what you tell them, but to come up with the idea and to think it through and to battle test it.
mhm,
And that we would all come in with humble enough hearts that we're not just going to, if somebody shoots down our idea, we're not going to get like hurt feelings over it or frustrated or angry about it. No, it's like we all want the better for the whole. These leaders are invested as much here as I am here. They've got their income that's tied up in this. They've got their future tied up in this. Let them help you shape and form what that future can
mhm,
be, and realize that your next idea is probably not just going to roll out like that. There's probably going to be some, building that has to go into it, so there could be, as you start talking about some of these big things you're dreaming of or places you'd want to go, there's probably phases of that, right? And the first phase is probably thinking through, okay, so what's going to go into putting all that together? That's not just going to come out of a 30 or 60-minute vision speech you give to folks. They're going to need time to sit in that. Oh, that's where you want to go. You want to open a new location this next year. Oh, you want to do a remodel on this location this next year. Oh, you want to go through and do some infrastructure development and buy new machines this year. Okay, so what machines come first? And what do we do with the old machines? And are we going to
mhm,
sell those to recapitalize the asset? Or are we going to hold on to those and rebuild those so we have good backups? Like thinking through, what is it that we're working on? Are you wanting to work your way out of the business this year? Do you want to hand off some of the duties that have classically been yours so you can raise up other leaders? All those things are going to probably take phasing, and it's not just going to be the flip of a switch. It's not going to be just done, probably in one quarter. You're going to need to be able to take, they say you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So how do we break that down to bite-sized pieces? And how do we hand out technology to the right person and like team development to the right person? And how do we
mhm.
hand out, like there's different pieces of all these different things you're going to want multiple minds involved in.
It's funny you mentioned opening locations because I would have loved back in the day hey, I want to open 3 locations this year. That's our plan. If I had
Right.
gotten that, I would have been so stoked because it was always like hey, we're opening a new location in 6 months. And we were always just like, wait, what? Wait. Okay. So, oh my gosh, what do I have to do? Okay. We got to start hiring. We got to start training. And it was always just like hey, this is happening. Hey, this is happening. Figure it
Yep.
out.
Yep.
I would have loved hey, our plan is to open a location in May, in August, and early December of next year. I could have gone,
Right.
fantastic. I'll plan
Right.
out to the head how many employees we have. I'll start
Yeah.
talking to vendors. I can pre-plan for all of this. And just that alone, if you can give that to your folks, like that's an annual planning goal. If you just sit down and say, hey guys, I want to open one new location this year, hopefully somewhere in May or hopefully in the fall. And that gives everybody the ability to go, okay, let's all brainstorm what are we going to need. May, you want to open in May? Okay, well, it's October right now. So let's
Yep.
start talking to vendors. Let's start talking hiring. We don't really have anybody training the baristas right now. So let's talk about maybe raising somebody up to be a trainer. Like that one share with your team can branch down into so many rocks and projects and to dos that will just make that opening so much easier.
So much better. So I think probably to wrap up our show today, once again, planning2026.com. Go check it out. It's a great spot, gives you all the resources. If you want our help, we'd love to lean in. But my encouragement to you is this is visionaries. I realize that you may not be very operational when it comes to planning. That's okay. We look to you to have the big vision, but give your team time enough to be able to operate based upon the vision you give them. And really, in all honesty, thinking a year ahead helps everybody, saves everybody the heartburn. Now, does that mean you're going to know everything that's going to come up next year? No. All you can do is we say you're 80%. Like, let's try and knock down the 80% and leave the 20% for margin. But if you're flipping that around and you're only giving your people 20% and you're leaving 80% to the margin of chaos, I'll say you're going to burn out team and people aren't
Mhm.
going to stick around and people are going to be overwhelmed all the time. You don't want that. They don't want that. So let's fix that together. So lean into annual planning. Can't recommend a bit highly enough, Ben. I'm so pumped to be with you back in Montana on Thursday. It's going to be a good time. And coffee experts, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time today. We'll see you next week here on Coffee Experts Club.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.